Right, folks, we are back for something a little bit different this time. We've got Gav back again. Lovely Gav, look at that face. So, as I said, Gav, this is going to be something different that we've never done on the podcast before. So I've titled it Gav Reacts To.
Oh, right, okay.
So, we've obviously interviewed lots and lots of people, done album reviews, but when we were talking off camera last time, so I was thinking about this. You and me have known each other since I was around 16-ish kind of age, so about 7 or 8 years ago.
Known each other a couple of years.
Yeah. Right. So, and obviously we've known each other through our mutual love of heavy metal and rock music. Mm-hmm. However, you were a bit surprised to find out all these years later that my favourite band is not a heavy metal or rock band.
Yep.
So, my favourite band is The Doors.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you will have heard of The Doors because they're such a famous classic band.
Yep.
But you said you don't really know much about them, so I thought it might be interesting to introduce you to my favourite band. You might like them, you might not like them, you might be surprised. I think you're going to be surprised actually. But obviously seeing The Doors, when you hear the band The Doors, what do you actually know or think about them?
So, there's Jim Morrison. And I think last when you kind of first approached the subject with me, you were like, do you know any songs? I was like, there's Break On Through. And then I started naming a couple other songs. You were going, nope, that's not The Doors. Nope, that's not The Doors.
Well, sorry, you were kind of getting it. I think you were aiming for Light My Fire, but you were calling it other songs with the word kind of like that. But I'm sure you would probably recognise that's probably their biggest hit.
Yep.
So that's like their Enter Sandman.
Right, okay.
Or it's their Smells Like Teen Spirit. Mm-hmm. It's their biggest hit. It's their first big hit. It was their most successful. You ask most fans, it's not their best song, but it's their most well known.
Most people know, yeah.
Right?
Oh,
do you know when they were out? When the band was active?
60s.
Yeah,
70s.
So they're a 60s.
Well, that surprised me as well
70s.
because I thought they were around for decades.
Yeah. So I took notes on my phone, although I don't need them because I know everything about this band.
Super fan.
But I'm actually excited about this episode because I'm like, I might create a new fan. I think you're going to be surprised because the band started 1965. Mm-hmm. So Jim Morrison, the singer, and keyboard organist, I don't know what you call him. I think that's the instrument.
Keys.
Keys. Ray Manzarek are both film students, UCLA. In Los Angeles, California. They both graduate, and Jim Morrison decides to go to New York to do stuff with film. Ray decides to stay in California. So Ray's down on the beach, July 1965, he's down on the sand, just chilling, and he looks up, Jim Morrison's walking along the beach towards him. So he's like, calls him over, he's like, I thought you were away to New York. He's like, decided to stay here. I've been living up on a mutual friend's rooftop and taking tons of drugs and basically just writing all these songs in his head. Never sang before, never performed, never done anything.
Right, okay.
And Ray's like this, he's like this accomplished, he's like classically trained, loves the blues. Mm-hmm. So, and he plays in bands. So he's like, well, sing me a couple of songs. So he sings, so he's like, works up the courage, sings them a couple of songs, and then he's just like, these are amazing, weird, crazy lyrics. I absolutely love this. We should start a band. He's like, that's what I had in mind. Mm-hmm. Right? So having never sang, never done anything, they decide to start this band. They meet, I think Ray's in a meditation class or something like that.
Okay.
And he meets, he's got a mutual friend, John Densmore, who is a jazz drummer.
Okay.
And he's got a friend, Robbie Krieger, who's a flamenco guitarist.
Right, okay.
So you've got jazz drummer, flamenco guitarist, a classically trained blues organist, and this guy who's never sang before, who writes
smashed out his
crazy
face
lyrics.
On drugs.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they're one of those bands, right? See, when you think of the bands, any band, most bands, they don't have the same lineup. It changes throughout time for various reasons. They're one of those very unique bands that it worked with those 4 individuals. Like, see if you took any one of them away, it didn't work.
So were they just a 4-piece?
So there were 4 of them. So what happened was the drummer, guitarist, Ray on keys, tried the bass player, didn't work, right? So Ray, he's got his organ thing, and then he's got like this wee add-on bit up the top, like a second sort of organ part. That's what the bass notes. He's like, hold on, I'll just play all the bass on my left hand, and then I'll do everything else on my.
So there's
my
no
right
bassist.
hand. So they've got.
Okay.
Well, there is bass, but it's Ray's left hand.
Right. Okay. Right.
And that's how they create. So they obviously had this weird, crazy sound. Another thing, I think you're going to think like 1965 was when they started. So you're thinking the biggest band of that era, the Beatles, hippies, all about love. The Doors were the complete opposite of that. So they were about like the dark side and destruction. And
Sweet.
most people agree that Jim Morrison was the very first original rock star.
Cool.
Of which everybody then tried to copy, and they never really done it. So even like your Bono from U2, Michael Hutchence in Excess, all these people were brilliant, but you can see how they copied them.
Right. Okay.
But so the first album comes out. I've got it here. So this is what blows my mind, right? So first album comes out 1967. Second album comes January 1967. Second album comes out September 67. Third album comes out July 68. Fourth album comes out July 69. Fifth album comes out February 1970. They release a live album July 1970. And then their last album comes out April 71. And it's all over because he dies a few months after that. So,
I just assumed they were around for like 10, 15,
January 1967 was when their first album came out, and their last album came out April 1971.
Wow. So
in a short, and so you're talking 67, 68, 69, 70. You could argue like the start of 1971, and let's talk about the years that they've done it before it. So they probably had about 5 years. They released 6 studio albums and a live album.
Wow.
Done all these crazy tours, and they squeezed it all in. And then he was obviously the first big person as well. Like, so when you see all these people that drink and drugs, and it just you can't maintain that lifestyle. And he's a classic example. Died at 27. And you'll see the change throughout that. See, what blows my mind, when you listen to the first album, skip forward 4 years to the last album, it's like a different band. But it works. But he sounds like he's a guy in his 50s or his 60s, smoking cigars, drinking whiskey straight and everything, and taking millions of drugs. Right? First few albums, I think they're great albums. They sound you can tell they're from the 60s. Later albums, technology, it gets a little bit better. Songwriting wise, it sounds just as good as anything that's ever came out today. Luckily, they were signed to Elektra Records, one of the first big bands.
Like Metallica's label.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But they had, their first album, it's a classic album, was recorded in 1 week. Recorded the whole album in a week, and they had a great producer. So for it was on a 4-track, and it sounds brilliant. Wow. So we're going to take a listen.
Right, cool.
Now, fans of the band will say, maybe disagree with the song choices. You could be here forever unless you sat and listened to every single song. So I've picked what I think best represents the band, give you an overall view of them.
Cool.
Some people might disagree with the choice, but I think it's a good, solid choice. So we'll go from album to album. I've kind of picked 2 songs off each album. Cool. There's a couple of live tracks as well.
Sweet.
So first one is the first single off the first album, called Break On Through, which
I know.
You have here,
Cool.
but we'll listen to it again and give me your thoughts. So 3, 2, 1.
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there. But can you still recall the time we cried? Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. I found an island in your arms, country in your eyes. Arms are chainless, eyes are lined. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through, oh! Oh yeah! Made to see, week to week, day to day. The other side, break on through to the other side, break on through, break on through, break on through, break on through.
There we go, Gav. So that was the band's first ever single off the debut album, Break On Through to the Other Side. It didn't actually do very well, but pretty much was released, went unnoticed. They then released a second single, Light My Fire, which became a massive hit for 1967, The Summer of Love. The rest is history.
Yep.
But what's your initial thoughts when you hear that? I know you've probably heard that before in passing or in movies.
But it's probably the first time I've sat and listened to it with a... It's not just been on in the background, it's still been on the radio, it's still been in a pub. Yeah, no, it's...
So what I'd said to you, sorry, as well, was recorded on a 4-track.
Yeah.
Completely live in the studio, so they mic everybody up, set the levels, make sure it sounds good, hit record and go for it. No click tracks, nothing like that. So you had to really know how to play. But keep in mind, the first two albums were recorded similar because they'd been playing for 2 years before they recorded the first album. They could do it in their sleep almost.
Yeah.
But what's your first thoughts when you hear that?
The fact that's recorded on a 4-track blows my mind. Like, one fuck up and start again, you know.
Pretty much.
Aye. And if he was kind of a bit chemically inconvenienced, that probably happened more than 6 times, you know. But yeah, like it's got a good...
I think he was maybe on his good behaviour back then because keep in mind the whole album was recorded in a week. So,
yeah.
And so I think it would have maybe been... I think it would have been a couple of takes of each song.
Brilliant.
And then move on to the next one.
And like, not being a Doors fan, I can just conjure like all these kind of Vietnam movies, like the helicopter swooping in with that tune playing.
What I'd say to you as well, they always had a bass player, like a session person, record in the studio, copying what Ray done. The reason being is that the bass guitar, it recorded better as a bass guitar, but live they didn't have a bassist. His left hand was the bassist.
Oh, I need to see a video of that.
Right. So next one, song called Backdoor Man, which was a cover song, it's an old blues song by Willie Dixon, I think it was. On their first album, I thought I'd let you hear them live, see what you think as well.
Cool.
I've got visions of you thinking they're like the Beatles, and they're really not. They were like, the Beatles were like, all you need is love, and they were just like, nah, we're the dark side of this.
Nice.
So we're going to hear Backdoor Man live. I think it's 1968, so it's maybe a year later, but
it's from that.
Right, so
cool.
3, 2, 1. Here we go, Gav. So as I just said to you, it faded out because they would tend to maybe do 2 or 3 songs in a row and it would fade, so it fades into another song, which is fine. But I know that's a cover song, albeit a lot of people think they actually wrote it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, straight from the get-go, you can't tell he's on drugs at all with that crazy like woo as he goes in there. It still blows my mind that like Ray is playing the bass and the keyboard, but when you actually concentrate on it, you can hear it's one-handed. So it'd be amazing to hear what if they had a bass player, how much fuller, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but how much he could have done with 2 hands. But well, he's clearly doing a shit ton with 2 hands.
It's funny you say that because later on they end up in the studio. They end up bringing in a bass. Like I know they've got a bass player there, but a bass player in his own right, not copying what Ray's doing. They bring in a bass player and a rhythm guitarist, but their sound changed over time, so they went more bluesy towards the end. But you just think, imagine if that had carried on. If the band had managed to tour, but yeah,
if you've got like the Beatles and the Stones, that's just like you say, it's the opposite end of the spectrum for what they're doing. So it's like it's almost like the metal of its day.
Yeah.
Like the alternative
metal before metal existed.
It's like everyone else has got, like you say, the Beatles, you know, da peace, man.
Yeah.
And a Liverpudlian accent and all that, and then they're just smashed at his face. You can imagine him getting it loudly on the stage doing that. Yeah.
So, got down here that the band recorded first album September 1966. It was released January 1967. They were just basically recording, touring. That was basically that's still what bands do nowadays, I suppose. So the big thing at the time was September 1967. They appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, which was like this really big, famous, sort of clean cut, like a Top of the Pops almost for America. And they performed "Light My Fire," and there's a word in it, higher. We can't get much higher. You can't say that, like, because the only thing live was the vocals. Everybody else is miming.
Okay.
You can't say that. And the band decided, just when it was the 4 of them, actually, you know what? Let's just play it the way we normally play it. And afterwards, they cancelled all 6 appearances for them later because they done it live on national TV.
Good on them. Why should have been changed?
But the next song, right, is one of the longer ones. This is like a total trippy song. So this is called "The End," a really famous song that they done.
Okay.
Right, they were fired from the Whiskey A Go Go when they done this, just before they recorded their first album. So it started off as a wee 3-4 minute love song, goodbye, like you've split up from your girlfriend, and then it kind of progressed when they done it live, and then the more hallucinogenic LSD he started, like, because he was a poet, he started, like, he'd have long sections of poetry, but it was crazy, all this stuff that he put in. And then the version that you hear here is very similar to the one they done the Whiskey. So they done 2 sets at the Whiskey. The first set he never showed up, the singer Jim Morrison, he didn't show up. And then the owner of the Whiskey, they'd done the first set, 45 minutes, and then the owner had said, "You better go and find him because I'm paying for 4 guys." So they found him in a hotel down the road, completely off his face on LSD. They brought him in, they're like, "Right, what song are we going to do?" They normally would do the end at the end.
Yep.
He decided he wanted to do it first. And there's a section about halfway through where he starts talking, and it caused an awful lot of controversy. got them sacked from the Whiskey. Obviously, it's a different time nowadays. It's not that controversial.
But in those days,
back then, I mean, you couldn't say the word higher. So I'll let you hear it anyway. Recorded. This is what blows my mind. Recorded completely live in the studio. They recorded it with all the lights off, with one candle burning in the studio. And the producer was just like, I just left them to it. Hit record, and he says,
I bet it's perfect.
It absolutely blew my mind.
Aye.
He says, it's the only time I've recorded somebody where, he says, I stopped being a producer and I just became an audience member. He says, I just sat and watched them play this song. And he says, every member was just in the pocket. They were. He says it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Cool.
So we'll play it and you can tell me your thoughts. It's a long one. You ready?
I'm ready.
Right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my only friend. The end of our elaborate plans. The end of everything that stands. The end, no safety or surprise. The end, I'll never look into your eyes again. Can you picture what will be so limitless and free? Desperately in need of some stranger's hand in a desperate land. Lost in a romance, wilderness of pain, and all the children are insane. All the children are insane. Waiting for the summer rain, yeah. There's danger on the edge of town. Ride the King's Highway, baby. Weird scenes inside the gold mine. Ride the highway west, baby. Ride the snake, ride the snake to the lake, the ancient lake, baby. The snake is long, 7 miles. Ride the snake. He's old and his skin is cold. The West is the best. The West is the best. Get here and we'll do the rest. The blue bus is calling us. is calling us. Travel where you take it us. The killer awoke before dawn. He put his boots on. He took a face from the ancient gallery and he walked on down the hall. He went into the room where his sister lived, and then he paid a visit to his brother, and then he walked on down the hall, and he came to a door, and he looked inside. Father, yes son, I want to kill you. Mother, I want to. Come on, baby, take a chance with us. Come on, baby, take a chance with us. Come on, baby, take a chance with us and meet me at the back of the blue bus. Do not blue rock on that blue bus. Do not, come on, yeah. Come on, baby. Yeah. Yeah. Come on, baby. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. All right. This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my only friend. The end. It hurts to set you free, but you'll never follow me. The end of laughter and soft light. The end of nights we tried to die. This is the end.
So Gav, that was the epic, weird, fantastical song, The End.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone's cup of tea because it's not a basic verse chorus structure. That it's a free form. Let's see what the hell happens here. What's your initial thoughts on that?
It's beautiful chaos. Like that's the only way I can describe it. Like it's fucked up, but it works. Like yeah, I can totally believe they were sitting in a studio with just a candle burning. But how you can tell they were a band because when the tempo picked up, they all picked up the tempo at the same time, and they all just kind of gelled.
I mean, they've obviously played that song a million times. They would have a sort of. It didn't sound like there was a structure, but they would have cues that would be like, right, let's move on to the next bit. Mm-hmm. But they probably never played it like that exact way ever again. No. And like you were saying, like if they were reluctant to put that on tape, because it must have just been something live that some nights it was short or some nights it was longer. I believe that version you just heard, that's the album version. I believe they recorded it twice. Mm-hmm. And they took the first half of one of them and the second half of the other, right, and then they pieced together what they thought. I don't know where the splice is.
No, you can't tell.
But yeah, it was a crazy song. Obviously, the spoken word bit was very controversial back in the day. Not so much nowadays. You said you thought you'd heard part of that, so it has been featured, especially in the film Apocalypse Now.
Yep.
So that was that's the band's first album.
Cool.
Right. So that's released January 1967. Between May and August of 67, they record their second album. The studio gets a little bit more money. I think they upgrade to an 8-track.
Sweet.
So they're like, wow, we've got additional tracks to use for overdubs and bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. And, as each album goes on, you start... it sounds brilliant, but you do hear it. Technology is improving as they go on as well.
Yep.
So as I said, towards the end of 67, they performed on the Ed Sullivan Show. They sung the word higher. It didn't go down very well. So the other problem that they had, December 1967, New Haven incident, so that's a very big thing. So Jim Morrison was the first ever person to be arrested live on stage. Right?
Okay,
so
cool.
They turn up to play a gig. He's backstage with a groupie, and a police officer interrupts them and doesn't realise who he is, so says to him, get out of here. And he, rather than explain the situation, he's like, who do you think you are, sort of thing. It escalates and he gets maced right before he goes on stage, and he's obviously pissed off, and he's also drunk as well. So he goes on stage, and then halfway through one of the songs it gets to a nice quiet bit, and he decides to start talking to the audience, and the police are there as security, and he decides to tell them about what happened, but he's like, the police are public servants, and who do they think they are? And it basically gets to a point where the chief of police walks on stage during the performance and drags him off stage. And there's footage of it somewhere. I'm going to put it up on the screen. We'll see the footage of it.
Cool.
But I think he got a bit of a doing off the police taking him back. And this is the first of many things that happen. So the band are firing all cylinders. They've got, and it's weird, Jim Morrison is the focal point. The other three guys in the band would say he looks cool. He's got these lovely, crazy lyrics. His on-stage performance is unpredictable. But he would have been nothing without the other three guys. The four of them needed each other, because without those other three guys, he would have been a drunk sitting in a bar somewhere.
Yeah.
They needed each other.
Cool.
And so you can, although he's the focal point, you can't give enough credit for the other three keeping it together, keeping it going. And the music that you hear is them. Jim Morrison couldn't play any instrument, couldn't play a chord. He would come up with ideas and he would sing it to them, and they'd have to try and figure it out.
Figure out how they were going to play.
It's kind of crazy how it worked, but it worked. Yep.
Yeah.
So the band records their second album, Strange Days, it's called. A couple of songs I think you've probably heard from it, but that was released September 1967, so the same year.
Cool.
So I'll play it. This song is called Love Me Two Times. I think you might have heard it even though you don't recognise the name.
Recognise the name.
So 3, 2, 1.
Love me two times, baby. Love me twice today. Love me two times, girl. I'm gone away. Love me two times, girl. One for tomorrow, one just for today. Love me two times. I'm gone away. Love me one time, could not speak. Love me one time, yeah, my knees got weak. Love me two times, girl. Loves me all through the week. Love me two times, I've gone away. Love me two times, I've gone away. Oh yeah. Love me one time, could not speak. Love me one time, baby. Yeah, my knees got weak. Love me two times, girl. Loves me all through the week. Love me two times, I'm gone away. Love me two times, babe. Love me twice today. Love me two times, babe. 'Cause I'm gone away. Love me two times, girl. One for tomorrow, one just for today. Love me two times, I'm gone away. Love me two times, I'm gone away. Love me two times, I'm gone away.
Right, Gav, so that was Love Me Two Times, which was a big hit from their second album. Second album, recording equipment's a little bit better than what they were using on the first album.
Yep.
They've obviously got additional tracks, so they've got the same instruments as before, but they've got the opportunity to overdub additional instruments on top. As I said to you, I think some of it was live, and some of it, probably mostly the vocals, started to get recorded later on. However, most of these songs, first and second album, most of the songs were written at the same time. What's your thoughts on that one then?
I like that one, it's nice and bluesy. I like the bass line on it as well. And the guitar sound was nice as well. Like, it sounds a bit more produced in a way, but like you can hear the room in it as well. So yeah, I like that.
It's still a band playing.
Bit more structure to it as well.
Right,
The last one, yeah.
Next one was another hit for it. You will have heard it. It's been in films and bits and pieces. People Are Strange. So 3, 2, 1.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange. People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange. Alright, yeah. You're strange, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, no one remembers your name. When you're strange, when you're strange, when you're strange.
Right, Gav, that was People Are Strange. Automatically, you said Lost Boys.
Yep.
So that it was, as I said, it was echoing the Bunnymen, done a cover of it, which was featured in the Lost Boys, albeit they didn't differ too much from the original. But you probably heard that elsewhere.
Yep.
So that's quite a big song for them. Quite a simple wee 2-minute something song. What's your thoughts on that one?
I like that one. Aye. Again, a lot going on in that. You could tell they had like more money, more tracks on the 8-track to do it
You
with.
said at the end there's a double vocals track.
Yeah. And I was like, is that something else in the background? But yeah, you could probably listen to that 3 or 4 times and hear something different every time.
Yep.
Nice wee bass line in it. I appreciate the bass in that one.
Yep. So we've got down here November 67 to May 1968 the band records its third album, so they're spending longer in the studio, partly because they've got new technology to play around with, partly because Jim Morrison's becoming a little bit more unpredictable,
erratic,
trying to get him in the studio. But so the next song is a live performance, but it's a song off their third album.
Cool.
I'm just going to play it and see what you think.
Right, okay.
It's another. It's not too long, but it's a crazy weird tune. It's called "Not to Touch the Earth." Right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Not to touch the earth, not to see the sun, nothing left to do but run, 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 let's run. Let's run. House upon the hill, moon is lying still, shadows of the trees, witnessing the wild breeze. Come on, baby, run with me. Let's run, run with me, run with me.
Again, it fades out because
Because it goes straight
it would have went
into
into
another
another. It was actually part of a bigger piece, that one. But they took that one section and put it as a song on the third album. But so that was the third album, a song from the third album, Not to Touch the Earth, but it was a live performance. What's your thoughts on that?
That was cool. It was different, strange, but cool. I like you could tell how tight that was a band, especially live there. Like that tempo was picking up, and they were still bang on each other.
What I said to you as well, though, is see if you were to substitute the organ for a rhythm guitarist. That's rock.
Yep. Speed
But
the drums up a bit.
that's rock before rock kind of existed.
Yeah. And like some of those drum beats as well. Like if you played that a bit faster, that's almost a
And you'd
like
said, I never even thought of this, but you'd said that you had this flamenco.
Yeah, and the guitar.
So he was a flamenco guitarist.
Aye.
But obviously when he was on point, I thought he sounded great live, vocally.
Yeah. Again, he's a rock vocalist before his time. I kind of joke and said, all you need is a yeah at the end of some of those lines, and is a almost like a mini, like a P. James Hetfield. Yeah.
So the next song is a controversial song for them. So again, the story behind this is that he'd went AWOL. The band's in the studio recording the music, and then he'll be overdubbing, singing. He shows up very, very drunk. He's drinking out a bottle of whiskey, and he's got a bag of drugs, and he keeps taking handfuls, chucking them into his mouth and swigging them down with alcohol. So they phoned an ambulance to be on standby for him, and he says, I want to sing this song.
And then I'll go to hospital.
We'll just see what happens. So they had an ambulance on standby according to the band.
Holy shit.
They hit record, and this is the vocal that they left on the album. Right? The song's a weird one. It's called 5 to 1. He never explained what the ratio was, but there's lots of various things to do with the amount of blacks to whites going for the Vietnam War, the amount of people over the age of 21 compared the people under the age of 21, the amount of people smoking drugs to the people not smoking drugs, all these various things. It could be about that.
Could be about the death rate in that war as well.
Who knows? But I'll let you hear it.
Right, cool.
It's a famous song again, so you might have heard this. And I'll just let you can let me know what you think of his vocals.
Cool.
So 3, 2, 1.
Come on. Love my girl. She looking good. Come on. One more. 5 to 1, baby. 1 in 5. No one here gets out alive now. You get yours, baby. I'll get mine. Gonna make it, baby, if we try. The old get old and the young get stronger. May take a week and it may take longer. They got the guns, but we got the numbers. Gonna win, yeah, we're taking over. Come on! Your ballroom days are over, baby. Night is drawing near. Shadows of the evening crawl across the years. Yeah, walk across the floor with a flower in your hand, trying to tell me no one understands. Trading your hours for a handful of dimes. Gonna make it, baby, in our prime. Come together one more time. Get together one more time. Get together one more time. Get together. Get together one more time. 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 Get together, get Hey, come on, honey. Go along home and wait for me, baby. I'll be there in just a little while. You see, I gotta go out in this car with these people. Get together one more time. Get together one more time. Get together, got to get together, got to get together, got to take up in the mountains and love my girl. She looking good, looking real good. Love you. Come on. Be.
Right, there we go, Gav. That was 521. What's your thoughts on that song overall?
There's somebody fucked up as he was in that track. There's only a couple of bits that I was a bit like, oh yeah, you can tell he's on drugs, but yeah, or pissed, but yeah, that was good. I've not heard that one though. It didn't. Or if
Oh,
I
you're
have,
not?
no.
Because I said to you, that's one of their really big songs. You couldn't actually get, from a musician's point of view, you couldn't get a simpler song. It's two chords,
Yep,
drum
yep.
beats, dead easy. Probably the most complicated parts, the guitarist
Yeah, his wee solos.
doing his solo.
But again, there's like elements of rock in there. That bass tone, like with the
Well,
kind
it's
of
a really big flat bass tone.
fat, like gritty, kind of overdriven, like.
It sounded
bass
almost like there was a
driver.
little bit of distortion on the bass.
Yeah. Or was it just so loud that it was just the cone farting? You know, it was.
Yeah.
But it added another element to it, and.
But I reckon that has got to be one of the earliest examples of a rock song.
Aye, yeah, absolutely. I would put that in the rock genre, definitely.
Yeah. So the band, that was the band's third album. So the band records its fourth album, called The Soft Parade, between March 68 and January 69. It was their first and only album to feature brass and string arrangements. Although the songs I'm going to let you hear, I don't think have any.
Okay.
Right? Lots of people don't like the album. I still think it's a great album. But it's got down here online. Morrison's drinking made him difficult and unreliable, and the recording sessions dragged on for months. Studio costs piled up and the doors came close to disintegrating. Despite all this, the album was immensely successful, becoming the band's fourth hit album. Right, so
Okey-dokes.
here's one of the songs off the album. It's called Easy Ride. Let me know what you think after it. So
Okey-dokes.
3, 2, 1.
And I know it will be an easy ride. Alright. And I know it will be easy ride. Okay. The mask that you wore, my fingers would explore. Costume of control, excitement soon unfold. And I know it will be easy ride. Yeah. Joy for vaguely with your pride, with your pride, yeah.
Right, Gav, that was Easy Ride, which was one of the songs taken from the album The Soft Parade. You were laughing straight away because it sounds very like a carnival.
I feel like I've just been at the shows.
That's a sort of short, sharp.
Aye, different as well. Like,
so the other thing I'd said to you was, what do you think sonically of it compared to the first three albums?
So we were saying that the first album's got its own kind of unique sound, and then the second, the third, and that album just kind of, they sound the same, but that's a different one.
Do you think
it's a happy tune?
Still sounds like the same band, like.
No, if you were to play me like the first 2 or 3 tracks and then play that, I would never have said that was the Doors. It was too upbeat. It was too happy. He didn't sound like he was high or pissed. He was aye. Yeah. That surprises me. That like if you'd played that to me and went, "Who's that?" I would never have guessed the Doors.
So you'd say that was different from, for example, Break On Through.
Yes.
The very first song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yep.
But I mean, you hear all the instruments that we're talking about on the outro. There was that. I don't know if it's like a wee added overdub of a bass.
Like the guitar does it, and then is it the guitar doing it on a lower string, or is it an organ, or is it the bass?
But you hear all the instruments. Everybody is spot on.
Yep.
And I think for all his troubles, I think vocally he was sounding really good. Mm-hmm. And I don't think his voice has changed much compared to the first three albums.
A bit lower, but it's not any grittier. It's not any.
I mean, I think he had a very good octave range. He was a natural baritone. Mm-hmm. But great song.
Some people do their best work when they're high and pissed. Look at
next song is another weird one. It's the title track so it's called The Soft Parade from the Soft Parade album, and I can't even explain it to you. I'm just going to let you hear it. And
okay, let's go for it.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
When I was back there in seminary school, there was a person there who put forth the proposition that you can petition the Lord with prayer. Petition the Lord with prayer. Petition the Lord with prayer. You cannot petition the Lord with prayer. Can you give me sanctuary? I must find a place to hide, a place for me to hide. Can you find me soft asylum? I can't make it anymore. The man is at the door. Peppermint mini skirts, chocolate candy, champion socks, and a girl named Sandy. There's only 4 ways to get unraveled. One is to sleep and the other is travel. But one is abandoned up in the hills. One is to love your neighbor till his wife gets home. Catacombs, nursery bones, winter women, growing stones, carrying babies to the river, streets and shoes, avenues, leather riders,
Right, Gav, so that was the title track from their fourth studio album, The Soft Parade. Probably, I would say that's maybe one of the weirdest songs in the sense, well, there's no normal structure, verse, chorus, it's in sections. There's I think there's 4 or 5 sections, each one very different from the other ones. I think they're all in different keys.
Yeah.
Strangely, it works. You said it perfectly. It's like controlled chaos.
It's like you were telling me that like that tour, like they'd gone through a rough patch. All their concerts have been cancelled and stuff. So that's almost like they've got on stage and they've went, let's play the set list in one go, and because everything, but together it all works.
So I'm saying to you, it would be interesting. I wonder how that song was recorded. Mm-hmm. Was it recorded in sections in which they then pieced it all together, or did they know what they wanted from the song start to finish? Because, so what happened was, March 1969, the Miami incident. Mm-hmm. So it's probably the most famous of Doors incidents. The Doors gave the most controversial performance of their career. The Dade County Sheriff's Office issued a warrant for Morrison's arrest, claiming Morrison had exposed himself on stage, shouted obscenities to the crowd, was drunk at the time of his performance and tried to start a riot. So he showed up about 3 hours late, completely drunk, and it ended in complete disaster.
Axl Rose before Axl Rose.
Yep. So he was convicted and sentenced to 6 months in jail with hard labour in order to pay a $500 fine. He remained free pending an appeal on his conviction, and he died before the matter was legally resolved. But what happened was that was the first date of the tour to promote the new album, and every single venue cancelled them afterwards. So their entire tour, American tour, was cancelled.
Wow.
They appeared on a show, PBS, interviewed, done a few songs, old and new, and they performed that song completely live.
Wow.
With 2 additional improvised solos, an organ and a guitar solo put in. So they could play it start to finish. So that's why I was wondering, did they the musical part of it? I don't know how they would do that without him singing, because it's such a weird song.
Yeah. But
I wonder if they performed it live or if they recorded. Maybe if we get the guys on, the remaining members, they can tell us.
Yeah. There's some for season 4 or 5.
So March 1969 was the Miami incident. July 1969 the band released the album, but it still went on to do great. Some people don't like it because other songs in the album have got strings and brass section.
Right, okay.
I like it.
Cool.
Overall, I thought it was still a great album. Let's see here. So, that was July 1969 the album came out. November 1969 to January 1970 the band records its 5th studio album. During the recording of their next album, Morrison is again found in trouble with the law. After harassing airline staff during a flight to Phoenix, Arizona, Morrison was charged with interfering with the flight of an intercontinental aircraft and public drunkenness. And if convicted of the most serious charge, he would have faced a 10-year federal prison sentence for the incident, but the charges were eventually dropped. But you can see it all starting to pile on.
It's all coming ahead. Yep.
So they started recording their next album. It was released February 1970, called Morrison Hotel. I think the next 4 songs I'm going to play are going to be your favourite.
Okay.
So I think their 2 last albums are probably 2 of their best albums.
Cool.
I love all their albums. Mm-hmm. My favourite album's the last album, but the band changed direction again. They went back to their blues roots.
Okay.
They're a blues band.
Yeah.
And recording gear again had got a little bit better. I think vocally it sounds... See, when your vocals start to age through drinking, smoking, all that sort of stuff, but it suited him. Mm-hmm. I think his voice sounds great, but it sounds, you can't put that sound on. You've either
got it or you ain't.
Got it from too much partying or you don't. But I think his writing was still brilliant back then. I think the other guys in the band were exceptional. But they've also this time in the studio, they've got a bass player and they've got a rhythm guitarist playing with them as well.
Cool. But they only played in the studio.
And someone on harmonica.
Alright, okay.
Ray, I don't know if it's an organ or he's got a piano now as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit boogie woogie. drummer,
Okay.
guitarist. So I think there's a different sound to them. I think it's even better.
Cool.
So we'll let you hear it. The first song you might have heard, it's quite a famous one called Roadhouse Blues.
Can't think of it. We'll
So
find out now.
3, 2, 1.
I'll keep your eyes on the road, your hand upon the wheel. Keep your eyes on the road, your hand upon the wheel. Yeah, we're going to the roadhouse, gonna have a good time. Yeah, the back of the roadhouse, I got some bungalows. Yeah, the back of the roadhouse, I got some bungalows. And that's for the people who like to go down slow. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll all night long. Do it, Ronnie, do it. You gotta roll, roll, roll. You gotta thrill my soul. Alright. Roll, 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 roll. I feel my soul. I gotta beep a ganja chucha. Hong Kong, Kong, ganja. Deja, kuna, nature. Bapa, lula, nicha. Bapa, nicha. East Hong Kong. Yeah, right. Ashen lady, ashen lady, give up your vows, give up your vows. Save our city, save our city, right now. And I woke up in morning, I got myself a beer. And I woke up in morning and I got myself a beer. The future's uncertain and the end is always near. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll, baby, roll. Let it roll all night long.
There we go, Gav. That was Roadhouse Blues from their 5th studio album, Morrison Hotel. What's your initial thoughts on that? Because I think that is the band has went off in a different direction from all their previous songs. that
Yeah,
you've
they've
heard.
kind of gone back to the roots, you know, back to the bluesy kind of.
Do you think that sounds like the same band?
No, again, if you were playing with that, I would have never guessed that was the Doors. It just sounds like a blues band.
I mean, I love all their songs, but I feel the band were more comfortable playing that type of stuff. I think, and you could argue that they've been playing together as a band for so long that they could probably play anything and make it sound good by
Yes.
that stage. but they sound like they're having fun.
Yes, aye, there's an energy to it, yeah.
Despite everything going on outside of the studio, I think most of that's live as well.
Yeah.
And the song itself is not too complicated. Drums and bass are driving the song.
It's just traditional kind of lazy bass line and
bridge section, chorus. But I think there's a different sound because you've got a bass player and a rhythm guitarist as well.
Aye.
But I think it adds to their sound. I think it makes them sound better.
But those musicians didn't go out and tour with them?
They still performed those songs live, but it was just the four of them.
Wow.
So,
I know, like that one.
Right, next song from the same album. It's called Peace Frog.
Is this like
I think you're going to like the bass line in this.
McCartney's frog song?
No.
Boom, boom,
So
boom,
3,
boom.
2, 1.
Dead blood in the streets, it's up to my ankles. Sheet blood in the streets, it's up to my knees. Sheet blood in the streets, the town of Chicago. Sheet blood on the rise, it's following me. She's about to break of day. She came in and she drove away. Sunlight in her hair. She blood in the streets on the river of sadness. She blood in the streets, it's up to my thigh. Yeah, the river runs red down the left of the city. No women are crying when rivers are weeping. She came in town and then she drove away. Sunlight in her hair. Indians scattered on Dawn's highway bleeding. Ghosts crowd the young child's fragile eggshell mind. Blood in the streets in the town of New Haven. Blood stains the roofs and the palm trees of Venice. Blood in my love in the terrible summer. Bloody red sun of fantastic LA. Blood screens the brain and chop off the fingers. Blood will be born in the birth of a nation. Blood is the rose of mysterious union. Dead blood in the streets, it's up to my ankles. Blood in the streets, it's up to my knee. Blood in the streets, the town of Chicago. Blood on the rise is following me.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that ends quite suddenly because it actually leads right into another song.
Yeah.
So that was the second song off of Morrison Hotel called Peace Frog. Different from Roadhouse Blues. But what's your initial thoughts on that one?
I liked that one as well. Again, it sounded...
You said you thought it sounded more like the Doors because
the kind of
there was Ray's organ.
Aye, the kind of jumpy organ that he does.
It's almost like that kind of bridges the old and the new.
Yeah. Still a bit of blues in there. Still, like you say, here's the Doors song without some random bit and it was in the middle.
They still played it live.
Yep.
With just the four of them. I know at that point they were struggling with Jim Morrison with getting him in the studio sometimes to sing, and I think that song, he had poetry books where the producer would go in and say, right, try singing this section and then they'll get this bit here. But for the way it was done, it sounds remarkably well.
Yeah. It flows very well.
What do you think sonically compared? Because that's that and Roadhouse Blues compared to the other albums? Do you think it sounds just as good? Do you think it sounds better, the same?
I think it sounds more planned. Like we said before, some of them were kind of chaotic. This one sounds a bit more, this is what we're going to record. And maybe that was because
What
he
about the
wasn't in the
actual
studio.
recording sound?
The sound aye, it's kind of gone back to that first,
The other thing as well,
the initial one, the initial album, the first album.
like when you hear the Beatles, there's a lot of bands, I think, when you hear them from the late 60s, 1970, they sound great, but it sounds of its time. I think that sounds really fresh.
Yeah.
For when it was recorded.
And that's what I was just looking up, because we were talking about, is that a wah pedal? So
I don't know if it was
What
just
year was that?
scratch. 1970.
yeah, that's when the Crybaby.
Because I wasn't sure if that was, if it was wah pedals created then. Right.
So yeah, 1970 was when it first came out, I think.
So the band releases Morrison Hotel February 1970.
In fact, no, 68.
Alright, okay.
Vox did one for Hendrix, so yeah, that could have been a wah.
So they release it, that album, 1970. Critics say that's them, they're sounding great again, they're sounding good. July 1970, they release Absolutely Live, which is a live album of stuff they'd recorded over the last few years. You heard a couple of the songs. December 1970, the band performed their last ever gig. So Jim Morrison apparently has a breakdown live on stage. So midway through the set, he slams the microphone stand down until it's smashed to pieces, and then just sits down and unable to perform the rest of the concert.
Wow.
So after the concert, the remaining members come to the mutual agreement that they should end their live act for the time being, at least.
Yeah.
December 19, so that was December 1970 that happened. December 1970 to January 1971, they record their last studio album with Jim Morrison. So album number 6.
Okay.
So that's and so what happens is they've had their long time producer, who for the first time he's like, I think it's the producer. He's like, I'm just not enjoying this. I'm not.
It must be chaotic.
I'm not hearing it. He says, you guys know what you're doing now. Why don't you just record it yourself?
Oh, okay.
So instead of going into the recording studio for the last album, they set it up in the rehearsal where they're quite comfortable.
Cool.
And they've got the rhythm guitarist back again. They've got Elvis's bass player.
Okay, cool.
They've got the piano. And they record what I think is their best album.
Okay, dokes.
Jim Morrison, you can hear his voice, the years of partying starting to catch up on him.
Right, okay.
But it lends itself wonderful to it. James Brown at the time, you can hear James Brown influence in this. And I think sonically it sounds absolutely brilliant. So we'll
Cool.
like hear it. First song we'd like here is The Changeling. First song off of Ellie Women. So 3, 2, 1. That'll work. 3, 2, 1 again. Right, Gav, so that was The Changeling from the album LA Woman. So that's the band live in the rehearsal room, no overdubs, just hit record and go for it. You've got a rhythm guitarist, you've got a bass player, Ray on his organ, drummer, Jim on vocals. Jim's in the bathroom, so you've got bathroom reverb, recording his vocals, completely live. What do you think of that?
It's amazing. Like, bands nowadays couldn't do that with 3 weeks in the studio and a click track, you know. It's, and considering like Jim was probably out of his face most of that.
I think he was fine.
Was he alright for that one?
During those sessions, because he was having fun. I think all of them were having fun again in the rehearsal room, no pressure. They're recording themselves.
The song does have a happiness to it, like
so
you can feel
they sound like they're having fun, just jamming as a band.
And that wee bass line again, just I liked how it was copying the organ at one point. I like that.
Right, we're on to the very last song.
Cool. I think I might know this one.
LA Woman.
I'm bound to know that. It sounds.
I think a lot of Doors fans will say that this is the ultimate Doors song.
Okay.
And there's sections to it, but it's a great tune.
Cool.
So we'll play it and let you tell me what you think. So 3, 2, 1.
Driving down I've seen cars, the topless bars, never saw a woman so alone, so alone, so alone, so alone. Motel money, glitter madness, but ain't a move glad to sadness. Mr. Mojo Rising, Mr. Mojo Rising, Mr. Mojo Rising, Mr. Mojo Rising, got to keep on rising. Mr. Mojo Rising, Mr. Mojo Rising, Mojo Rising, got the Mojo Rising, Mr. Mojo Rising, got to keep on rising, riding, riding, on riding, riding, on riding, riding, I got to riding, riding, hey, riding, riding, I got whoa, yeah, riding, oh, yeah. Well, she got in down about an hour ago. Took a look around, they went with a wind blow. With a little girl in a Hollywood bungalow. Are you a lucky little lady in the city of light? Or just another long thing, yo? City of night. City of night. City of night. City of night. Wow. Oh.
Right, there we go, Gav. So that was Ellie Woman by The Doors.
So it's not the song I thought it was going to be. I must be thinking another song that's similar vein.
So for the song itself, what's your thoughts on the actual song?
It's good. It's just, again, they all gel together, and when they slow down and they bring it back in, like, they all just gel beautifully.
It's amazing. It's live in the studio, like that end section, they repeat the verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
I've not got a timer, but the drummer was not far. If he wasn't spot on, he wasn't far off.
Mm-hmm.
But that's his ability to play the drums, to have everybody in time with him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's remembering what the time was, because it slows right down.
Yeah, and then he...
To get back to the same time signature.
It's a skill.
With
it's an art.
With no click track. It's pretty remarkable from the drummer. But
you can tell his voice has changed though, Jib, though, because I mean, I kind of joked at that first bit when he went Hollywood or something like that. Like, It was
Tommy
almost like
Cooper.
Aye. Or like Father Jack.
You actually said he was a bit like Ozzy.
Aye.
But I think it was that
He sounded like Ozzy when he talks. It's like...
he wasn't... It's almost like there was a slur
Yeah.
to his words. And
If he's like a functioning alcoholic at that point, there probably is this slur.
But then I've heard outtakes where he sings it a bit more clean, so I think he was purposely putting some of that on.
Part of his performance.
But it works.
It does, yeah. Oh, no, don't get me wrong, I'm not slagging
It
him.
sounds great. The drums and the bass line are carrying that song. The bass player and the drummer are linked in perfectly.
Locked in tight, and then everyone else is just...
The two guitarists bouncing off each other, they're not playing the same thing, but it works.
Especially at the beginning, it kind of harmonised in with what they were playing with each other.
Ray's got the piano going, great lyrics, great vocals. It sounds just like a band having fun in the rehearsal, which is, I think, what it was.
If that's what they were aiming for, that's what they've captured.
Yep.
And that's, to me, the epitome of a Doors song. You've got Jim's gritty vocals, you've got the bouncing keyboard.
Yep, so
you've got this
again,
song,
completely live in the studio, no overdubs. So that's recorded either December 1970 or January 71. The band's mixing the album in March, and Jim Morrison announces that he's going to go and live in Paris, France, which is somewhere he'd been on holiday, he'd visited. And people say it was him to go and get away from being a rock star to concentrate on his writing, on his poetry and that, which it could have been. It could have also been the fact that there was back then, you couldn't, if you were found guilty, you couldn't.
Oh, he wouldn't be extradited back.
Yeah, so it could have also been that. However, the album is getting mixed in March. He decides to go and leave. Album comes out in April 1971 as a critical success everywhere. Everybody's loving it. July 3rd, 1971, he's found dead in his bathtub in Paris. And there's no official autopsy done. Nobody sees the body except his girlfriend and the doctor. The girlfriend dies 3 years later, and I don't know what happened to the doctor. But the official cause of death is heart failure at 27.
How would they know that without an autopsy?
So there's rumours, as always. There's
I like a conspiracy.
There's actually a television programme on Apple TV at the moment. It's a 3-part, 1-hour series suggesting that he faked his own death.
Cool.
Personally, I don't believe it, but I'd still be interested to watch it.
I'll go down that rabbit hole tonight.
The other story that I think is probably more probable, sadly, is that his girlfriend that he was with the whole time was a heroin addict. And he went to this famous club in Paris to get heroin, and they suggest that he mixed up cocaine and heroin. Having never taken either, I wouldn't know, but
It's like a speedball or something.
Supposedly he snorted heroin thinking it was cocaine and OD'd in the toilets. They took him back, dumped him in the bath at his Paris apartment in order, I think, with it being in water, it's hard to then get the time of death because the body temperature, which would make sense. And by which point they were able to kind of clear it away. That's another rumour. That's
cool.
Which that sounds more possible than faking your own death. Albeit, I'm sure if you had plenty of money back then, you could do that. I think the way that he was going, though, from the things I've read, it's just sounded like he was on a path of self-destruction, and if it wasn't then, it would have happened some other point
eventually.
But then also at the same time, that the drummer has been in interviews saying that he was like an extremely bright guy as well. And so he says, for years I thought he would have been.
Listen, if he was writing poetry and stuff like that, he wasn't.
He was
just
saying that
out
the
his-
drummer said that for years he thought he just never saw him being able to live to old age because he was just self-destructive. But then you see all these other rock stars nowadays who at some point they've got enough sense that they clean up their act. Maybe he could have done that.
Yep.
You'll never know. He was buried in Père Lachaise Cemetery in France, where he still is to this day. It's fourth biggest tourist attraction in Paris. I went there when I was just a young man.
Into Paris, but I did not know Jim Morrison was buried there.
Yep. So that was the Doors.
So cool.
They did release, the band did release 2 albums after he passed away.
Okay.
October 71, August 72, they released Other Voices and Full Circle, just the 3 members. Most Doors fans don't really class them as Doors albums. So LA Woman is really the last proper Doors album. Strangely enough, he'd recorded a lot of his poetry the year before LA Woman. So December 1970, he went into the studio and he recorded hours of just him talking his poetry.
Wow.
The band regrouped 7 years later, November 1978, and they recorded music to his poetry and released an album called An American Prayer.
Okay.
But it was called Jim Morrison featuring the Doors.
Right,
So it was
okay,
his
it was
poetry
his,
album.
It was him, yeah.
And they got it out for him, and it done wonders.
Cool.
So
Are the other band members still alive?
the keyboardist Ray Manzarek, he passed away from cancer, I think, about maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
Right,
Drummer and
okay.
guitarist are still.
So long ago.
Yes, they're
So
still-
did they carry on? Like, did they form another band, or did they just?
They done various projects. They thought about getting a new singer.
But
So
I don't know, you could
they had
you?
tried. I think they auditioned, or they had thought about auditioning Iggy Pop at the time.
Oh, right, yeah, I can see that, yeah.
And they'd also thought about Paul Rogers, who was the singer of Free.
Free, yep.
But I think it was one of those.
I think
you
the Doors
can't-
wouldn't be the Doors without
You
Jim.
can't replace Jim Morrison.
No.
And it was like I said to you at the very beginning, there was the 4 of them, and you just remove any one of them, it doesn't work.
Aye.
For whatever
no, I
reason,
get that.
those 4 individuals made magic with that.
It's a bit like Sabbath. They tried to replace when Ozzy got the boot. They tried and they tried and they
And
tried, but it
it's-
still wasn't as good as.
But what blows my
good
mind
on them
about
for-
the band is such a short space of time, a short period of time in your 20s, you're set up for life, your children's life, your grandchildren's life. Like the amount of money that they have made from a relatively short period of time in their 20s.
Yep. And they were ahead of their time as well. I mean,
It's crazy.
we talked about having elements of rock, elements of metal in there. There was one song that had the disco kind of vibe to it.
the soft
disco
music one.
before disco. So yeah.
But
no,
then
they
it's a shame though, because
it's
they
a shame
also
they
say,
didn't do more, but they did a lot
you
in
know,
that time.
the guitarist drummer say that they're jealous when they see bands like the Stones still going, because they, they're jammed with loads of people, they could form other bands, but it's not the same.
Not the same. Nah,
And,
it wouldn't feel the same. Wouldn't sound the same.
So you've obviously, that's just a little snippet of the Doors, each album, but are they what you thought they were going to be
No.
at the start?
No, definitely not. I'm going to put a Spotify playlist on it.
What did you think they were going to be like?
I just
or
thought they were
did
going to be
you just not know?
psychedelic, and just Jim Morrison was going to be.
Did you think it was a little bit more like the Beatles?
hippie.
Like,
Aye, I thought it
all
was
you
going to
need
be
is
more
love?
hippie and trippy and new, but no, I like that. I think because they had that kind of rock metal vibe before rock and metal.
Because you can see, not all the songs, but you can some of their songs you can see how it was almost like the beginning of rock
Yeah, aye, yeah.
before rock existed.
And they're all very talented musicians. They're all talented in their own right, but together they're just magic. So yeah, no, I will have a playlist on my Spotify by tomorrow for in the
Some
car.
of it you'll like, some of it I don't think you'll like. But
We'll need to do a part 2 and
it's
I'll update you with my favourite songs.
falling down the rabbit hole, because, as you say, their first album to their last album, it's 2 different bands.
Yeah.
So it could be that you maybe like their later stuff and you not so much their earlier stuff, or maybe you like their earlier stuff, or you might find some stuff in the middle. they changed so much in such a short space of time.
Yeah.
And
That's mental.
but it's crazy. But really great band, and of course it was in a time when recording technology was so primitive. It's remarkable how good a lot of that sounds for
There's
when
bands
it came
now
out.
that can't sound as good as that, and they've got auto-tune and hundreds of tracks on mixing
but
desks.
I think probably my
click
two
tracks. And
my two favourite albums are the first album and the last album, and strangely enough, it's the two albums that they recorded completely live in the studio,
yeah.
and it was just the band playing.
There's not many bands could pull that off. So no, that's
So there you go. So we've maybe
amazing.
created a new Doors type fan for a few songs.
For a few songs, yeah, and there was a couple of songs in there I actually knew more than I thought I did. So.
And it'll be interesting because we'll get maybe a follow up to what you think, but also in the next season we'll get to flip this around. Gav can introduce me. We'll not name who it is yet, or maybe you've not decided. But
No, I know who I'm going to go for, because it was hard because, like you say, we've known each other for that long, but we've got a similar taste in music that a lot of the bands I'm into, like you're into as well.
Yeah.
But I think I found one that you know off, a bit like me with the Doors, you know off
Yep.
them, but I'm not convinced you know
So we'll
a
have
lot
a-
about them. So
Ian reacts to for the future coming up. And we'll see what happens.
It's a surprise.
But that was Gav reacting to the Doors, to Jim Morrison, Ray Manzarek, John Densmore, Robbie Krieger, creating magic on the albums. He had a few live tracks. I think you
gonna
got
go
a
and
pretty
watch that.
good overall of
Yeah,
the band.
that was a good intro to them, and
And,
it'll not be my last time hearing them. So
Yeah, until
Cool.
next time, Gav.
next time, mate. Cool.